Hi everyone, this is Madison Wright, and I'm presenting a framework for assessment in multicultural counseling by Ingrid Grieger and Joseph Ponterotto. So I'd like to start with an introduction to counseling. It can be defined as providing mental health services, especially by a professional. They discuss many sensitive and highly personal topics in a session. While counseling a client with similar values, beliefs, or culture can be challenging, working with someone who differs in regards to these characteristics can be even more difficult. As the demographics of the U.S. continue to change, multicultural counseling will become even more popular, along with the need to assess clients for what makes them unique in order to improve the experience. This graphic shows in 2016 about 70% of all counselors were white. However, very few counselors receive multicultural training. There are two important concepts to address in multicultural counseling. The first is worldview, which is the way one interprets the world. This is a culturally based variable necessary for counselors to assess to meet the client's needs with therapy. There are two components to worldview: group identity, which is one's cultural heritage, and individual identity, which is one's self-concept. These form the basis of one's values, beliefs, and language. They influence the client's perceptions of counseling. In our heterogeneous society, it's vital to recognize not everyone will have a Western Eurocentric worldview. The next concept is acculturation, which is a multidimensional and psychosocial phenomenon that is reflected in psychological changes that occur in individuals as a result of their interaction with a new culture. Racial identity is also applied here as it affects the client's attitude towards Western-type mental health services and mental health functioning too. Grieger and Ponterotto developed an applied framework for counseling assessment based on 6 essential components of acculturation and worldview. These include the client and family's levels of psychological mindedness, the client or family's attitude towards counseling, the client and family's level of acculturation, and the family's attitude towards acculturation. We will explore these more thoroughly in just a minute, but first it's important to note the definition of multicultural or cross-cultural used here as differences between race, ethnicity, and nationality. Also, not all clients will be representative of the whole cultural group, so don't generalize individuals. The first component is the client's level of psychological mindedness. A client without a Western Eurocentric worldview will not even consider an emotional disturbance anything other than a physical illness. Cultural frame of reference can determine whether a client will acknowledge psychological constructs like depression and seek help for it. If not, these clients need to be educated about this first. Second, along these same lines, is the family's level of psychological mindedness. The client has a harder time conceptualizing psychological problems when the family has no awareness of psychological constructs. As the client begins to understand psychological mindedness, they can bring that knowledge back to their family, who may or may not welcome it. When the client receives no support from their family, they can feel conflicted about receiving help for their needs. Third is the client or family's attitudes towards helping and counseling. When some cultures believe issues should not be discussed outside of the family, it can be uncomfortable for a client to discuss their concerns with a counselor. It is essential to reassure the client of confidentiality. Fourth is the client's level of acculturation. The higher the client's level of acculturation with American values, the more comfortable the client will feel with therapy. Since the origins of psychotherapy are white, European, and Western, the farther the client is from these values, the less likely they are to trust the counseling process. One solution is to bring in a co-therapist who has similar cultural values to help the client feel more confident. Fifth is the family's level of acculturation, which may vary from the client's. This can be conflicting for the client if they are more acculturated than their family. It should be emphasized that it is the client's choice, and there are ways to balance the two cultures. The last component is the family's attitude towards acculturation. Some parents may wish for their children to acculturate even when they do not themselves. where others choose to surround their family only by others with similar values. The client may be experiencing separation issues if this is the case and could benefit from family counseling. So, in conclusion, it is increasingly important in today's diverse world that counselors assess their clients' cultural levels to provide appropriate interventions, especially when the client's backgrounds or beliefs differ from that of the counselor. Gender, gender identity, religious identity, and sexual orientation should also be considered in the counseling process. This multicultural perspective, while challenging the counseling profession, can help promote growth in the field. So I would like for you to choose one discussion question to respond to. The first one, in your own opinion, list the skills that you need to be a successful multicultural counselor. Are these the same for teachers? Why or why not? The second one, which of the 6 components for assessment do you find the most important? Which do you find the least important, and why? And the third question, do you think it is possible for immigrants to both adapt to the U.S. culture while preserving their cultural identity at the same time? Explain. And there's my references. Thank you for watching. I hope everyone has a great week.